So a lot of people email us or call us and ask us, how do I do this? How do I do that? And, you know, I don't know that we're the how-to guys, or we're, you know, I don't know if we're the experts or what, but kind of what we'd like to talk about is like, here's some do's, here's some don'ts. Like, don't do this, or do this, or here's, you know, this is the way we do it. I'm not saying it's the perfect all-knowing way to do things or whatever, but this is how we do it, and it works really good for us. Very common thing on these trucks when you get them, everybody likes to get an old truck from an old guy in a barn or a farm or whatever, and it's been sitting for 15 or 20 years. And, you know, we all, if you're car guys, you probably watch Vice Grip Garage, you watch, what's the other one, Junkyard Digs and Dylan McCool and all those guys, and, you know, they go and they rescue these rigs and they try and fix everything and drive it home. Well, if you watch those guys, you know there's some basic stuff that you need to do to, like, drive it. And you don't want to shortcut it, you know. If you want to drive it home, that's one thing. But like for us, we start with, got to make it run, right? Okay, and to make these old Internationals run, if they still have fluid in them, and I mean like they've got a little bit of the ice cube juice in here, and they still got a little bit of Earl, you know, and they've got some tranny fluid and a little brake fluid. If all the fluids are there, you're going to make it run. Whether it has a rod knock or a valve tick, you don't know yet, but you're going to make it run. So the basic things that you need is you need spark, you need fuel, you need air, and kind of what we're, you know, the basic things is to check the oil. The first thing you're going to want to do is unplug the fuel pump and find out if the fuel pump's working. And the only way you're going to do that is hook the battery up, spin the key over, because it's mechanical. So you almost guarantee you're going to have to put a fuel pump in it to get fuel going. Then you got to have a fuel filter. Right here, little plastic, you can go buy these. There's a bunch of different versions. Napa has one, O'Reilly has one, everybody has one. Get that so you can see if fuel is flowing, number one, and then you can also see if it's orange and varnish, like it probably is if you're sucking out of the tank. So what we do is we're gonna pull off down here the fuel pump and put a new fuel pump on. We're gonna put a new fuel filter on. And then typically what we do is just take a fuel line from your fuel pump right down there on the block. Take an old antifreeze bottle like this, little 1 gallon, and just stick it right here in the grill and put a fuel line into it and put a gallon of fuel in it. Then you've got a gallon of fresh fuel into your new fuel pump with your new fuel filter going to your carburetor. Super simple. I know it's probably the same thing you do on any rig, but it's an easy way to get the fuel system working to where you're not drawing in garbage fuel or rust or particulates or whatever that might be in that fuel tank that's been sitting in Farmer Bob's barn for the last 30 years. Okay, so you got your fuel, you got battery, then you can bump your key and see if you've got anything, you know, a spark or whatever like that. You can test for spark. There's a million different spark testers you can buy out there. You pull the spark plug off, you can leave it hooked to the wire and set it on the block and see if it's got spark. You can get the tester, a million different ways. If you've got spark and you've got fuel and you've got a battery, pour a little bit of fuel down here, especially right down in the carburetor. And you're going to want to get some down there in the float bowls because the float bowls will be dry. And if it fires up, then pour some more in there and feed it until that fuel pump is sucking fuel in there. Believe it or not, 8 times out of 10, I'm not going to be super optimistic, 8 times out of 10, it's going to run. And if it runs, then all you got to do is replace all the tune-up stuff and everything else. But it's basic stuff. So don't just pour fuel in it and hook a battery to it and expect it to run. Because, you know, that's like 50-50. That's the same odds as going to Vegas. Nobody needs to do that. Then the next thing is brakes. None of these things will have brakes. For whatever reason, they always don't have brakes. So most of these early trucks are going to be 4-wheel drums. So then you've got wheel cylinder, you've got the hardware kit, which is all your springs and mechanism, and you've got shoes and you've got drums. Most of the time what happens is the wheel cylinders will fail. If the wheel cylinder fails, it's a hard pedal. There's no fluid going through there and the brakes are either locked or they're open. They're not doing anything. The thing that people a lot of times will do is try and do it the cheapest way they can. And the cheapest way is just figure out which one's not working. Okay, the left front's not working. All right, put a wheel cylinder in it, put the line on, pump it up, and we can drive it. Which, you know, that's fine. Brakes are kind of important. Stopping is good. It's safe. Safety third, you know, whatever. So if you get one of these old things and it's got 4-wheel drums, plan on putting a set of front shoes on it. The rears are probably going to be okay, unless they were, you know, got mice in there, or they've got, you know, cobwebs or whatever. But front shoes for sure, hardware kit for the front for sure, and wheel cylinders. And the wheel cylinders for these things are not cheap. I think they're anywhere between $30 and $60 a piece, depending on which ones they are. And then there's a little soft line. This one doesn't have it because the axle's not on it right now. There's a soft line that goes from the corner of the wheel and the back side of the brake up to the frame rail that hooks to the hard line that goes to the master cylinder. Those soft lines, just like belts and hoses, they dry out, they get super cracked. So soft lines, wheel cylinders, shoes in the front, and hardware. On the rears, probably just going to be wheel cylinders and a hardware kit and bleed them. That's about all you're going to need. Maybe a soft line, but the rears usually aren't too bad. If you've got brakes and you got it running and driving and it's got tranny fluid, you can probably drive it home, you know, but don't shortcut it. That's the biggest thing that I think everybody does. They just try and fix one part. Don't fix one part, because they're going to be stuck on the side of the road making a YouTube video. Make sure you guys like, tag, share, and follow, and help us continue to tell the stories of these trucks.